Okay, welcome back to episode 4 of Under Review. Ethan Birch, Jeremy Goldstein back again. We had an action-packed episode today. We had a full NFL slate in episode 3, but we're going back to the baseball, football, basketball trifecta here in episode 4. And to start us off, Ethan, the Yankees and Mets, they've both been in quite the bit of action over these past few days. The Yankees have won 9 in a row. The Mets were looking to get back into playoff position, but had a disappointing loss to the hands of the Braves last night. Why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, so let's get right into it. Obviously, there's a lot to talk about. Playoff basketball, football is just underway, and week 1 was awesome, and now some basketball we have in the Western and Eastern Conference Finals. So the Mets, they were in a pretty good position coming into last night. They had 2 really good wins in a row. When you broke it down from the last 12 games of the season, they had an off day earlier this week. So there's 12 games left. Mets down like 2 or 3 games from the second wild card spot. Per se, the Mets had to win 9 to 10 out of those games. So it's must-win baseball regardless. They're playing against the Philadelphia Phillies, then the Braves, then the Rays. And I'm not exactly sure they're playing their last series.
The Blue Jays.
It's the Blue Jays. Okay. So, I mean, none of this is easy by any – is it the Blue Jays they play in the last series?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
No, it's Washington for 4. It's Atlanta 3, Tampa 3, Washington 4. So, by any means, the rest of the schedule
I apologize.
No, you're good. You're good. So the Mets came up Wednesday and Thursday and had 2 crazy comeback wins. It was really impressive to see because they lost 4-1. Wednesday they won 5-4. It was DeGrom start, and it was a weird day because DeGrom left after the second inning with hamstring spasms.
Is he going to make his next start?
He will. He's making his next 2 starts, actually. They plan on starting him 2 more times, I believe today as well.
They need to win today, that's for sure.
It's huge. And what was big is that Michael Wacha came into that game and pitched phenomenal.
He did.
Behind DeGrom, and it really set the Mets up fine because J.D. Davis was the hero in this one. He hit a 2-run home run. He hit a go-ahead double, and that was the story after Andres Jimenez, the youngster who's currently taking Ahmed Rosario's position, hit a go-ahead single. And then on Thursday, it was a great win for the Mets. They came all the way back from 6-3 late in the game. Brandon Nimmo highlighted with a solo shot to give them the lead where he pimped it, which you never see him because he's usually around the base path in 14 seconds. But this time it was his longest home run trot of his career. But then last night, Steven Matz hasn't pitched in a couple weeks. He came back off
That was a weird start.
It's just not even a weird start.
I don't know why.
I expected it.
If you're going to pitch him, go with an opener or something because it's a must-win game and you're having somebody come in who's off the IL and was struggling beforehand too. So it wasn't like he was on any good momentum before he got injured.
So Jeremy, Steven Matz has been a regular starter pretty much the whole season. I would say he missed like 3 of his starts, which is not that much for what he's done. He's pretty much been a regular starter on this Mets. Can you guess what his ERA is right now? Take a wild guess what his ERA is right now.
All right. I know this is disrespectful, but is it 14.5?
It's a 9.79.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
He's 0 for 5. When he goes onto the mound, the Mets actually have a negative chance of winning the ballgame. It's pathetic. If the Mets actually bring Steven Matz back next year,
they might have to.
I don't think no, they can't. They can't bring him back.
And we'll get back into the real conversation in a bit. But you have DeGrom. Yeah, you probably need to bring back Peterson into the rotation next year.
Yeah, Peterson will have to be back. I mean, he's young. He might be good again.
He has potential. Then Syndergaard, hopefully he's good after his injury.
I think he'll be back like June. So the first 2 months will probably be without Syndergaard.
You're gonna have to sign someone.
I'll tell you who. You want to tell me who the Mets are going to bring in? Mr. Stevie Cohen, his first president, Trevor Bauer.
You know what? Even if he goes to the Mets, I'm a Trevor Bauer fanboy. I'm exposing myself.
Jeremy might be rooting for the Mets on every fifth day.
First, my favorite Yankee Betances becomes a Met, and now if Trevor Bauer does, it'll be heartbreaking.
So the Mets could be in a good situation. They could bring back Stroman, which I'm pretty confident that now with the new Steve Cohen, I'm confident that if they bring back Stroman wants to be in New York. I'm sure they'll give him his money. They have work to do with Conforto's contract. He might be a big signing of probably around $100 million.
They need to extend him. He's been their best hitter this year.
Exactly, and they'll probably give him $100 million if I had to guess, around that range.
He deserves fair for him. Yeah.
Absolutely fair for him.
With Steve Cohen money, absolutely.
Exactly, and then You make a splash. See, the Mets rotation probably looks like, obviously, DeGrom at the top. You get Syndergaard back in the 2 or 3 around May, June time. You bring Stroman back, who fills in that spot. Hopefully, Steven Matz walks. So then you got Seth Lugo, which will probably be in the starting rotation next
He
year. I
wants to be a
assume.
starter. I'm correct. Like he's a very effective reliever, but doesn't he want to be a starter?
He wants to be a starter. And it just takes time because he went in the bullpen for so long. So he's getting
You have
his
to
pitches
stretch him.
back up.
You got to stretch him out. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So they're stretching him out deeper in pitches. He will hopefully be a starter in that rotation. So he fills a 3 to 4 spot in the thing. But if you get Trevor Bauer, he goes into the 2, and it just pushes Syndergaard and Stroman back. So say one of them get injured, which is anyone gets injured, you still have 3 dominant starters. Trevor Bauer obviously is putting together a massive Cy Young campaign this year where he is easily in the Cy Young race with DeGrom. But having those 2 guys would just be phenomenal. And a talk we could get into more in the winter because who knows if that even is coming close in discussion. Regardless, the Mets now sit at 23 and 28. They're in 4th place in their division. They look like they're 3.5 back from the Marlins in 2nd place and 3 back from the Phillies.
How many back
Easiest
from
way
the
to
Reds?
say it, the Mets have a lot of work to do.
How many games back are they from the Reds? Because the Reds are the 8th seed.
Let me check it out right now.
And we'll get into some Reds talk. They're our topic under review. So
yes, sir. So 3 games back from the Reds. The Mets have a lot of work to do. Actually, DeGrom doesn't go today. It's Peterson versus Anderson, and Anderson's been phenomenal. Ian Anderson.
Yeah, his first game was against the Yankees. We're about to get into the Yankees, and he almost hit them. So, but that was when the Yankees were depleted of their roster.
And look now, the Yankees are on their way back to the top 9-game win streak.
Let's go for a little bit of a timeline here. So let's go back to Wednesday, September 9th. I wake up a very sad fan. Right, they've lost. They're 5 of their last 20. They won 5 of their last 20. They're 5 and 15 in their last 20 games. And Davy Garcia is pitching. They had just come off a 2-1 loss after the game after, surrendering 10 runs in 1 inning. Chad Green and Adam Ottavino gave up 10 total runs, didn't get 1 swing and miss. Who knows? They probably were tipping their pitches, but whatever. Now they've won 9 in a row. Luke Voit, 20 home runs on the season, has come away with the home run lead. DJ LeMahieu has the American League batting title right now. Got Judge back. He looked a little shaky. He's had a couple double plays last night, but he got his first hit. Stanton's back. He had a moonshot. The Yankees in their recent they just played their first game against Boston yesterday, and I'll get into that one. But the 3 games against Toronto, Ethan, MLB record 19 home runs in 3 games.
That's crazy. Now the Yankees had that crazy 4th inning when they had 5 in 1 inning, 3 in a row, and then 2 in a row. And that Stanton one was a bomb. Even Torres really got into one. But the Yankees have just been they remember we were talking about either episode 1 or 2 on a 7-game losing streak. They went into New York and they lost 2 in a row against the Mets. But after they lost those 2 in a row and Rosario hit a walk-off versus Aroldis Chapman, it just seems like a flip switch. They destroyed the Mets the next 2 games.
3.
Completed 3 in a row. One of them was a doubleheader. And it seemed like the Yankees just became back to what the Yankees should have been this entire season.
Even after that series, they still had that. That was part of that 5 and 15 stretch because they lost 2 to the Blue Jays. They lost 3 out of 4 to the Orioles in there. They lost 2 to Atlanta. So there was a lot that still went wrong. But I want to go back to the Boston game last night. I feel like it looked like a game that the Yankees were going to sleepwalk through. And a big part of the season, a big storyline has been the struggles of Gary Sanchez. He's been hovering between 120 and 130 all season, was not getting hits, was striking out almost 50% of the time, which
it's pathetic watching.
That's like me in 5th grade level numbers. Better than me still, but like let's just. I'm trying to say it's bad. And yesterday was. Yankees down 4-0 early. Montgomery has been probably the worst of the 5 starters so far. Jay Happ is
shocking. I thought he was going to be good this year.
And Jay Happ's really picked it up, and he pitches today. But Gary Sanchez basically gets a 2-run ground rule double with 2 outs to make it a 4-2 game. And then top of the 9th inning off of Matt Barnes, 4-3, 2 outs. Sanchez over the monster tie game. And then he saved a wild pitch from Chapman in extra innings to save the game because they would have scored.
That's more stunning than I've ever. That's more stunning.
Exactly. I think Sanchez, it's a wake up call, and I will fully admit right now, and the Yankees ended up winning that game. They won 9 in a row, like I said. I was ready to cut Sanchez, trade him for Wilson Ramos, making those jokes, trade him for Kevin Plawecki, whatever you wanted, whatever like I wanted to bring jokes to reality at one point. But now I'll fully admit he's really picked it up, and I'm obviously rooting for the guy. He's a New York Yankees, so I'm happy to see that, and hopefully J Happ can make it 10 in a row today.
Now that Gary's been like stepping it up defensively, he had a big play last night. Also, he's been hitting a lot more home runs, not doing those lazy swings. He's been laying off of a lot of pitches outside the zone.
That's been the.
Do you want to see Gary Sanchez for more years with the Yankees, or is it time to move on?
Here's the deal, so starting 2019, the pre-All-Star break, he was hot. He was Gary Sanchez like we expected him to be. The second half, he was hitting under 200, and then he came into this season slow. I think if you're Aaron Boone and Brian Cashman, you're in a really, really tough spot because this guy has proven he's a top catcher in the league. Like he was easily an All-Star vote in to be the American League catcher in the All-Star game last year. But then you have that Gary Sanchez who can't touch the baseball.
Exactly.
So
where do you go from here? Do you give him another year? One more year to see if he...
you have plenty of years of control left from him. He's not on a contract.
I know, but it's just the having him there with the balls going to the backstop and the strikeouts.
Yeah.
Constantly. Do you want to suffer? We have to try another year with him, right? After this year.
I think you got to try it. And then here's the deal. Kyle Higashioka, the backup catcher, hit 3 home runs in a game 2 days ago. And he is emerging. You know how Syndergaard... didn't he have a personal catcher? Wasn't it Rene Rivera was his personal catcher? Wasn't that a thing in the
because he never liked when I think it was Rene Rivera. Or Kevin Plawecki. He never liked throwing to Ramos. They had a fight in the middle of last year. Like I don't want Ramos catching me, but Ramos was hitting so hot. He was hitting like 280s. What?
I'm assuming he would DH.
Who?
Ramos.
Last year they couldn't.
True. Oh yeah.
That's why it was such a problem.
Yeah,
it was such a problem last year.
But
it's caused so much emotion. But obviously,
over the past 3 games, Kyle Higashioka has caught Garrett Cole, and Garrett Cole has pitched his 3 best games of the season in that stretch. He had a complete game shutout in the doubleheader against the Orioles.
Hey, if you're pitching, there's not only throwing the ball, you got to be catching it too.
And he pitched 7 brilliant innings against Toronto last time, and Garrett Cole has had overwhelming support of Gary. He said there's no fight there, but he's performed well as a pitcher when Higashioka has caught him. I don't know if he's really a starting catcher in this league, but I'm willing because I know Sanchez has the potential to go into next year with Gary as a starter. And if you give him 40 games at most, and if doesn't have it, you have to just say, look, we can't do this every year. And
I agree because that's probably the biggest problem with the Yankees that they face decision-wise because you still have them regardless and you have control years, but it's dealing with it and having the pitchers to like him because your pitcher's got to love your catcher, and that's probably the biggest part of your game, especially when you got a guy like Cole. You spent all this money on him. You need him to want to pitch with the guy he's pitching with.
And I know we got to transition from baseball, but the last point I want to make, last year when Cole started to go on his big run was in that so I think Cole had his 9th or 10th start of the year recently, and that was the start in 2019 where he started to go on his run, and now he's really.
That was also in May.
Yeah, this is the first couple of starts where Cole has looked like Garrett Cole, and
I agree.
This season, while I really want the Yankees to get their 28th championship this year, I have a lot of leeway with guys like Garrett Cole and Stanton or whatever because it's such a weird season and it's a very difficult season. So if they're not 100%, I'm looking towards 2021 to be the year where we really see these guys with their full potential.
I agree. The Yankees have plenty of potential. And I think the Mets do too. It's just
they do.
It's putting the puzzle pieces together, honestly. And I think that
the ownership was the first
ownership
problem.
will help out with actually spending some money here. Maybe bringing in some guys, maybe make a quick little splash in the offseason, spend some money. Give the Mets a chance in 2021 because realistically, this window is closing for them. They need to. This win now mode has been win now mode for the past 5 years, and it's got to come soon because it before you know it, this clock is ticking on this Mets. So let's transition into our next topic, the NBA. So the NBA basketball, we are in the Western Conference and Eastern Conference Finals, and so far we watched a really good game in the Eastern Conference Finals in Game 1, the Celtics versus the Heat, that ended in overtime.
Yeah.
So, and then proceeding, the Heat ended up winning again. So it's 2-0 in the Eastern Conference Finals and 1-0 in the Western Conference Finals. And we'll talk about the Lakers and Nuggets first. The Lakers dominated last night.
Yeah.
They were up. They almost stretched it to a 30-point lead at one point. LeBron James looked very good all around. The Lakers were pretty much dominating. LeBron looked kind of mad that said, in quote, "I'm pissed off that I didn't win the MVP early." He only had 16 first place votes.
Yeah.
And he played angry and he played very well, to say the least. And the Lakers dominated. What can you say about the game, Jeremy?
Look, I hate the Lakers as a fan, but they're without a doubt going to make the finals. You can make all the Clippers jokes you want to make and talk about how they weren't good enough, but they were the only shot we had of the Lakers being dethroned prior to the NBA Finals.
The Lakers aren't the Clippers, and they won't lose to a team like the Nuggets. So when you're led by,
that's
go ahead.
So the Clippers, I really was high on them entering the playoffs. They have the pieces.
They played
I think
horrible in the last 3 games.
Here's the problem.
They deserve to win.
I can get slandered for this. I'm not a LeBron guy. I think he's a big crier on the court, and I'm just not a fan of him.
I know you're not a fan of him.
The Lakers they share the ball. They have because I somebody was rooting for the Rockets to win, and seeing how well the Lakers played that series, I'm fully aware of their talents as a whole now. The Clippers themselves are a very egotistical team. You know what I'm saying? They have a lot of guys that are really high in themselves, like Paul George and Patrick Beverley.
And that's why they didn't win.
And Marcus Morris Sr. And exactly. I think that's what, at the end of the day, prevented them. I think they really – because Marcus Morris I want to say game 5 was – telling the Nuggets, get ready to pack your bags. Like
they talked a lot of trash, and that's why the social media blew up when they lost. They talked a lot of trash entering the bubble in the regular season of the bubble. They were like, "Don't bring us back because we're going to win the championship." Yeah. They got Patrick Beverley talking garbage, and now they come in and they lose a 3-1 lead in the Western Conference semifinals. I am personally very happy they lost. I mean, I would have liked to see the Clippers versus the Lakers.
Yeah, as somebody who I like the Nuggets a lot. Don't get me wrong, but as somebody who hates the Lakers, I wanted to see the team who had the best chance of beating them, and the Nuggets definitely are not that team. I'm a big Jokic guy.
They doubted us bad. Do you remember when we were going to go talk about the series on this podcast? We were like, "Oh, Clippers in 5, Clippers in 4 or 5."
We literally said it's not worth talking about this. This is over.
Jamal Murray and Jokic would be like the next.
I really think, and then by the time Game 7 pulled around, Kawhi, I don't think was in his bag. So to speak.
They were tired. They were coming out after 3-minute shifts. They would go on the court and ask Doc Rivers to take them out after 2.5 minutes. Everyone was gassed on that team. I don't know what went wrong, but this team was not suited for 7 games this series.
If the Lakers are going to win this series, and now the Lakers are back to playing with their regular lineup because they don't have to compete with the small ball.
Yeah, the small ball.
It's going to be on Jeremy Grant to play Anthony Davis to the best of his ability, unless they put Jokic on him.
Didn't look good last night. He put up a 37.
No, and Jamal Murray was shooting well and all that, but the Lakers are too much of an offensive dominant team where they have so many reliable ways to score.
Whether it's the
I really think they're going to sweep. I know it's not. This is not the Clippers Nuggets series. It's different, but I really think they're going to sweep because it comes down to both these teams aren't going to. They're not as egotistical as a Clippers lineup, and I think the Lakers are going to be in the finals quite easily.
Yeah, I think I agree too. I don't know about a sweep, but I do have the Lakers winning the series. Next week we'll have a real strong point of where this series is at. But let's move on to the Clippers versus not the Clippers. The Celtics versus the Heat. The Celtics find themselves down 2-0. They had a huge locker room. Something happened in there. People throwing stuff. Marcus Smart had to be separated from Jaylen Brown, apparently. They had a midnight meeting between Brad Stevens had a midnight meeting that night with Kemba Walker, Jason Tatum, Marcus Smart, and Jaylen Brown discussing things. Apparently, there's rumors of Gordon Hayward rolling back into this lineup, maybe in time for Game 3 or 4.
Wait, was he injured?
Yeah, he hasn't been playing. He has not been playing.
Okay.
So
what I'm understanding is they'd be rushing him back.
Yes, most likely. They haven't had him, and when he's in the lineup, it's just the floor is spread so much better for guys like Tatum, and obviously he's a great player.
But he's not in form. Like they can bring him back, but doesn't mean he's ready to go.
I don't even know if he'll want to come back. I don't know. But regardless, this team is down 2-0. Obviously, both of these teams are extremely talented, and both games have really come down to the wire. It was a 2-point win when Bam Adebayo blocked Tatum at the rack, which was probably one of the blocks of the year, maybe the block of the year so far. And then they only won by 5 the other night, and Goran Dragic played a phenomenal game. 25 points, what he's been doing all year. And it just goes back to that point. Jimmy Butler only put up 14, and they still were able to win. Jimmy Butler, it just shows the talent all around this team.
Do you want to know who my MVP of the Heat team is?
Jay Crowder.
Eric Spoelstra.
I thought you were going to say Jay Crowder.
He has outcoached every single team in the league. Jimmy Butler's played sensationally well, and you have Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero. That duo is going to be a deadly duo for a decade to come.
It's crazy.
You have the veterans in Iguodala and Jay Crowder and Goran Dragic, who are really setting the tone for how these young guys play. Dragic has been an uncanny shooter, times lethal. Adebayo can put up that mid range and be a dominant man in the paint.
Right.
Even at 6'9".
Everything's clicking for this team right now.
I again, just like this, like not as bad as the Lakers series. I think the Heat win in 5 or 6. I do think the Celtics will come back strong in Game 3 and potentially win.
This game tonight is absolutely
because
it's everything.
Because the Celtics, I think there's too much on the line for them, but I do think the Heat win the series without a doubt.
Celtics are favored.
And a Lakers Heat series is going a finals. I know we don't have it yet, but it would be crazy because you have a team like the Lakers with all their stars, but a team like the Heat who win off of pure chemistry and knowing each other's strengths, and they build off each other's strengths.
Also, LeBron will be playing against the Heat for the first time in the finals, so
that'd be incredible.
That'd be cool. Either way, I think Lakers Celtics would be cool because that's a flash from the past, something we haven't really been able to see that we could remember. Because when we were growing up, when we were little kids, all it was the Lakers versus the Clippers. Lakers versus the Celtics. I'm saying the Clippers. Lakers Celtics every single year. So
that was when we were like elementary school, but exactly. When we were middle school, high school, it was always Cavs Warriors. So that's been the big fight.
That's also very true. So let's move on. Let's go to the NFL. We got a bunch of good games.
Let's end with the Giants.
We'll end with the Giants. So let's do. Let's start with the Patriots versus at Seattle Seahawks on Sunday Night Football. Is there fans at that game? Do we know? Because I know there was fans at Cleveland.
I want to say no.
Okay.
But before we get into this, let me just say the Browns beat the Bengals on Thursday night, and now I am 10-7 in picks, and you are 8-9.
Whoa.
So I'm up 2. I'm up 2 in the series, but you thought Patriots Seahawks. We both picked the Seahawks on our picks this week. And
for good reason, I think
Seattle at home is. I don't care if there's fans there. They're different, and they're gonna have artificial crowd noise. I'm assuming.
Yeah, and the NFL is doing it based on what your stadium would actually.
Yeah, they have a great method.
It's really cool. It's cool.
Implementing it.
They did a good job, and I think a lot of stadiums will start entering fans into the game. Not that it's that much and it will be that significant, but
I think it'll be 25%. That's what a lot of teams have been doing.
Yeah, like 15.
If you have it, like the Chiefs, 25%. They should have fan test positive, by the way, but we have to talk about that. The Browns at 25%, and they had fans get into a fight. Who knows what that did? The Jaguars at 25%. But
no one at the game of these guys was still getting fights. But realistically, I think that the Seattle Seahawks are the best team in the NFC, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Defensively,
I hate to agree, but I agree.
Defensively, they're incredible. They have the best middle linebacker, probably the best safety in football. Just standing at that specifically. Then their offense is crazy. Russell Wilson's probably the best quarterback in football next to Patrick Mahomes.
I agree. Yeah, and then you have that offense when healthy. You have the Chris Carson, who's going to be my player to watch and MVP of this game, or the most important player. And then once he's on, you have to have. I think the problem for Seattle in the playoffs last year is that they didn't have a running game, so it was very one-dimensional offense. But with Chris Carson running the football, then they have to stack the box at times, and that will leave Wilson with room to give guys like Tyler Lockett. What's his name? DK Metcalf. They have Greg Olsen now.
He caught a couple touchdowns.
Exactly. So they have such a good offense, and their defense improved with that Jamal Adams addition. And they also have Bobby Wagner, the best middle linebacker in the league. So the Patriots, I'm not ready to write them off as a good team yet. I liked what I saw against the Dolphins.
It's a test for Cam Newton. Big test.
And you're not high on Cam Newton.
I do not like high Cam Newton at all. And I'm not happy that he played well, but it was also against the Miami Dolphins, so I'm not taking it.
I know.
Jeremy texted me when Cam Newton ran into this first touchdown, and I literally I barely even responded. I was just like,
I my point was you shouldn't have picked the Dolphins. They're just not the team to pick. But
I went for the upset.
Doesn't matter. That's why you're down 2 to me. But
well, we'll see at the end of the season. Regardless. Let's move on. What was the other game we're doing? We got Falcons at Cowboys.
Wait. Do you have a player? Do you have a player to watch for Pat Seahawks?
Oh yeah, probably just. I actually didn't even pick one, to be honest. but I'll go with Russell Wilson because if Russell Wilson plays like he did in Week 1, there's absolutely no chance the Patriots have. But the Patriots do have a good defense, so it's a good test regardless. But Russell Wilson, if he plays like he did, he tossed 4 touchdowns over 300 yards, didn't even come close to throwing an interception.
No doubt.
It took him to his 13th pass to throw an incompletion.
And
the Patriots have 0 chance.
They had 7 guys opt out defensively before the year, so they were very depleted to start regardless. Yeah.
So Falcons at Cowboys. This is a good game. The Cowboys lost a tough one. Honestly, on a really bad call by the referees when Jalen Ramsey flopped hard down the field, but I'm not complaining. I don't like the Cowboys at all.
Look,
what are you winning this one?
Well, we don't have to talk about the call. I have the Falcons. I know this is the second and the last game we disagreed on this week, actually. I have the Cowboys. Their offense was too reliant, I think, on Zeke against the Rams, and that is when they had 3 good receivers. I know the Falcons' defense isn't on that level, but I do like what the Falcons bring to the table. Todd Gurley was above average last week. He had a good enough week for me to believe that he will be a productive tool for them on the offense down the road.
I don't know about that.
Really? Why not?
14 carries for 56 and a touchdown. His touchdown was on the goal line. He dove over and barely got in. He doesn't run that ball like he used to. I mean, I wouldn't depend on him giving the ball every first down.
But that's against that Seahawks defense.
Okay, you're right. Okay,
and the Cowboys interior, and they just lost Leighton Vander Esch for like 6 to 8 weeks.
Fine. They played against the Seahawks.
So, and then you have a Falcons offense. Yeah. So the receiving, I think, is good. So you got Julio, Ridley, and my player to watch, Russell Gage, who got a few catches for them at the very least, and was a productive receiver for Matt Ryan. And if Matt Ryan and Hayden Hurst too. So you have 3 quality receivers and a tight end for Matt Ryan to throw to.
Matt Ryan threw for 450 yards.
Exactly. And if Jared Goff, who didn't have the best of seasons last year, was able to use Robert Woods to a high extent of production last week, I think Matt Ryan's going to have a field day with this Cowboys secondary. And the Falcons are going to dominate them offensively. I think it'll be a shootout because the Falcons defense we know is not very good. But I think that the Falcons at the end of the day will be able to pull this one out.
Yeah, I disagree. I really think the Cowboys will win this one. Tough week. Tough loss last week when they probably should have won the game. They're pissed off. Zeke ran the ball very well. I expect him to get 25 carries this game. The Falcons defense isn't that great. The receivers, Amari Cooper, my guy to watch, Michael Gallup, I think is in for a big game this week. Also, C.D. Lamb. Dak Prescott, he didn't look bad throwing the ball. He didn't throw any interceptions.
After that Rams game, I had the Cowboys last week too, but for some reason, it's not because I hate them. I
had the Cowboys too, actually.
We both did, and it's not because I don't like them. I didn't think that I thought they were going to really put up a showing against the Rams, especially after what's the kind of season the Rams put together last year. But the Cowboys really looked out of sync to me. But I know it's week 1. But
it's also the Falcons. Their defense isn't great. I think this is a good chance for their first offensive explosion. Listen, this Cowboys offense is nothing to joke about this year, and I hate to say that, but it's true, and they're really good. So we're running out of time here. Let's go on to the Giants. So obviously, me and Jeremy will talk about the Giants every single week unless they have a bye. We'll bring people on to talk about it. But just me and Jeremy.
We have another college friend coming to talk baseball with us next week. But
yes, sir. So we'll reveal it later. It's a secret.
We'll reveal it this week.
It's a secret. So Giants are playing at Chicago. Giants are not favored in this one. Actually, according to ESPN, they have a 34.2% chance to win this game.
Oh, that's very low for me.
I know. I'm kind of upset about that. The Giants, I'm upset about last game on a number of different levels.
Yeah.
Because now people. So Saquon Barkley ran for 2 yards, I think. Got outrun by Big Ben.
He ran for 6. He ran for 6. 6 yards.
6. 2 and 6. Oh no. But regardless, people are counting them out. How can you count them out? Who said that Saquon Barkley should only be a third down back?
Tiki Barber said that.
Are you kidding me? How can you say that?
No, because he can't pass protect.
To run through.
It was for the reason that he couldn't pass protect.
Okay.
But here's my thing. Stance on the whole Barkley situation we had, and we both had the Giants winning this game, by the way, and we'll get more into that later. Barkley, it was the O-line first. Fleming looked bad, and Andrew Thomas had a good game, but it was his first. It was more that Cameron Fleming edge that was a problem. The Steelers have by far the best pass rush in the league.
Best pass rush on both sides. These are Bud Dupree and TJ Watt coming in. Are you kidding?
Against the young, inexperienced Giants offensive line.
They'll get better. I'm not worried.
Here's the thing: it's not going to get harder than that.
Exactly.
So they do have the Niners and Rams coming up in 3 and 4.
And they also have to deal with Khalil Mack tomorrow, which
but
also another edge rusher problem.
I think he's matched up with Andrew Thomas, which is helps. Thomas was pretty solid.
Andrew Thomas is my matchup player, is my key player for the Giants because he's got that matchup with Khalil Mack, and he needs a good game so badly because
he had a solid game last week too. He wasn't bad.
It's just that defensive front by the Steelers is incredible. Easily probably the best in football. He needs him and that offensive line as a whole is my key players of the game. They need to allow Saquon Barkley to run the football. Absolutely need. They were so lucky that Daniel Jones played as good as he did that he got them down the field.
That interception, the first one, TJ Watt, was just a great athletic play by Watt. The second one, very poor decision. Jones had a great drive. Poor decision. Should have thrown it away. That's what a veteran quarterback would do.
He had Slade in the back left of that corner of the end zone.
And he was still covered a little bit. He wasn't even that.
It was his chance. It was a chance he was.
But that's a play you throw away in my opinion.
And that was the worst possible scenario. But it was really impressive.
But here's because again, if
the first 18 plays of the drive, you can't take it away from him. He was so good.
If Saquon gets going, then you have they have to respect the back that says the ball. Then you'll pass better.
The Giants won't win the game if Barkley only runs for 10 yards. They won't win the game because then all you have to do is just know that Daniel Jones passing the ball.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're, the Steelers are lucky that they were able to stop the run because Jones played so good in the air. Yes, he had the 2 picks, but he threw the ball so well.
And with that
getting rid of it quick, like how much more can you ask?
And with that being said, Ingram had a little bit of a poor showing, a couple drops, but
early on he missed a touchdown route too.
I think it was a little jitters for him. I still think he'll have a solid game against the Bears, and Caden Smith's a good backup target if he doesn't work out. That being said, I think the offense will be good to go for the Bears. But here's my key player. That is James Bradberry.
I was thinking about taking him too.
Yeah,
he didn't play bad.
No, he did. He had a great play on James Washington, and he made
towards the end the whole thing crumbled down.
Here's the deal. Allen Robinson is going to be. This is a big game that might determine his Bears' future. If the Bears don't play well offensively, he might really go further with a trade request. So he's going to really try. They're going to try to get the ball to him, and he's going to try to get open a ton more than he usually does. So Bradbury is going to be tasked with having to guard him, and I think that's going to be the main source of the Bears' offense. Tariq Cohen obviously can provide problems for you, but I don't think he'll be that big of a deal.
The Bears just came off a very, very impressive win against the Lions, fourth quarter comeback. Yes. They're nothing to joke about. You can't count them out. And if you look back in Saquon Barkley's career, his best games have come up against the Bears. Remember in his rookie season, he had that crazy 100-plus yard game and he hurdled someone over the middle of the field. Barkley plays very, very well against the Bears. I'm expecting Saquon to have a nice bounce-back week. He said that by Tiki Barber's words, he said he considers that a challenge. That he is not
and it should be a challenge. It should be a challenge because pass protecting is his weakness.
Exactly. So he's got a lot to prove. Hopefully he can get more than 10 yards and allow the Giants offense to open up because realistically this Giants offense, non-biased at all, is very effective. They can be very effective as Saquon Barkley runs the football because now we know Jones he put on a lot of muscle this offseason. He looks very good. He could run the ball, which is awesome. I'm not used to that in the Giants uniform. Usually Eli Manning would just take the sack, especially towards the end of his career.
Yeah.
But Jones can run out of the pocket. He can throw the ball in the run decent, better than some quarterbacks in this league. And he's an accurate passer. And he throws the ball really hard and gets rid of it. So I'm excited
for Sunday. Yeah.
But
why don't we get into some under review?
Yeah, let's do it. This has been a long episode already, but this is the topic of discussion. So under review today, which is not even confirmed yet. This team could not even make the playoffs. They're actually in the last spot right now.
I'm ready to defend them. Let's go.
But the Cincinnati Reds are going to the NLCS this year.
Absolutely. I uphold the Cincinnati Reds. I have so much written down and ready to talk about.
I mean, I reject for the second week in a row. So now we're 2-2 rejecting and upholding. I upheld the first two. Now I'm rejecting the next two. This team is not making it to the NLCS. Are you crazy? Who are they beating?
Pitching staff, and then Obviously, the Dodgers are up there too. But in my opinion, by the time the playoffs come, I will not be surprised if they are the best pitching staff in the National League.
Listen, I don't take their pitching staff away. They have 3 really good arms in the starting staff. They got
And then some.
Bauer, who's a Cy Young candidate.
By the way, Trevor Bauer, big fan. Come on our show, please. Thank you.
Jeremy actually DM'd him on Twitter, so we're hoping he responds.
His DM.
It's okay.
I had to actually tweet at him to come on the show, and I messaged him on the Under Review account too. So we're really
Jeremy, when he's Met next year, I'll get into close contact with him. Don't worry.
All right, yeah.
So the top of their rotation is obviously really impressive. I'm not taking that away. What do you got? Bauer, Luis Castillo, and Sonny Gray.
Who had a rough start to the season, Castillo, but had a shutout in his last game and has only given up 3 runs in his last 3 games.
Yeah, he's been good. And then Sonny Gray is okay.
He hit the IL, but they have had guys like Lucas Sims, Sal Romano come in and pitch well. They got TJ Antone, who's giving them quality innings, and they also have Anthony DeSclafani and Michael Lorenzen.
Listen, they've been pitching well. Their hitting is not good at playoff level at all. Jeremy, they don't have one guy in that lineup even close to hitting 300. Not even close. Their highest hitter is Nick Castellanos right now. Oh, excuse me, Akiyama at 239.
They have Jesse Winker's 260, I think.
Oh, okay, my bad. Yeah. Jesse Winker's the best hitter. That's it.
But
That's
it. Their offense has been getting hotter as of late. Akiyama's becoming a good leadoff hitter. Castellanos, we all know he can give you quality.
He hasn't done it. Votto's got it. He hasn't done it.
Joey Votto Votto has reached base with a hit in 7 of his last 9 games and hit 4 home runs. He is red hot.
So can he take that in the playoffs? What teams are?
Yes, he can take it in the playoffs.
Has he done that before?
He's made the playoffs before. Well, they had that wild card loss. They haven't really played a series.
Yeah, they haven't played playoffs. They got no playoff experience. So they're in the 8 seed right now. Obviously, things can change so quick. Things can change so quick, like insanely. But you think about it right now. The playoffs end today. They have to face off against the Dodgers. This team cannot even make the playoffs, by the way. They're in the last spot, and they are only 1 game up, half a game up. Say the season ends today. They're the 8 seed, and they have to play against the Dodgers. Is there any shot this team beats the Dodgers? Any shot? They have a good pitching staff. The Dodgers are better. They have a good bullpen. The Dodgers' bullpen's better. And the Dodgers have the best lineup.
I'm willing to say that the Dodgers' bullpen is not better.
Really?
Kenley Jansen, do you see how abysmal that guy has played?
He gets it done when it matters.
No, he doesn't. They play the Astros. He gave up 5 runs, and nobody.
That's probably the one thing you can. That's probably the one thing you can recall.
I mean, he almost blew it against the A's the other day.
Almost. Edwin Diaz almost blew it against the Phillies. Didn't. Edwin Diaz is like the best closer in baseball right now.
Think about this though. The Reds' schedule. I'm looking it up right now. They got the White Sox. They just beat the White Sox 7-1. They have the struggling Brewers and then the Twins.
They're not going to take 2 out of 3 against the White Sox.
Trevor Bauer pitches today.
Okay, so Bauer goes today. So say they win. How many starts did Bauer get? 2 more starts?
Bauer. Well, here's the deal. If Bauer starts today, they have 1, 2, 3, 4 more guys, and then if Bauer pitches the 25th, which is when his next start would be, because they have a day off the 24th, you have 1, 2, 3, and then they would probably start Bauer on game 1 on 3 days rest because he's tried to give them. He wants.
And that's if they even make the playoffs. So so the Dodgers. Can we say that they wouldn't beat the Dodgers? So can we say they wouldn't beat the Dodgers?
I'm not. Anything can happen in 3 games.
Okay, you're right, but I would 100% take the Dodgers over.
I will never give Clayton Kershaw playoff.
The Cubs. Are they beating the Cubs?
Yes.
Cubs are one of the hottest teams in baseball, and they've been all season.
Darvish outdueled. I mean, my bad. Bauer outdueled Darvish.
Darvish did.
he did game one he did, but they've had 2 matchups, and Bauer recently won the second one.
I think the Cubs starting rotation, their top 3 matches up fairly well against.
Lester, you're willing to give Lester credit for still being a solid
Lester's
pitcher?
their 4.
Who are you really going to say Alec Mills is all that?
Maybe even Alec Mills, but Chatwood too. Chatwood's been pretty solid as their 3.
Castillo and Gray are miles.
Darvish and Hendricks. Darvish and Bauer cancel each other out. They've both been incredible this year.
Yes.
So then we go Luis Castillo versus Kyle Hendricks.
What's Hendricks' stat line on the year?
I'll pull it up. Hendricks' stats this year, 2.93 ERA.
Castillo's is 3.03, but that's because he had a couple of really bad starts to start the season. But again, his ERA is under 2.8 in his last 5.
Sonny Gray, you said, is on the IL, right?
Yeah, but he could be back before the playoffs.
So Alec Mills or Chatwoods beats their 3 as well.
So I'll take DeSclafani.
And their bullpen is very good. I would say their bullpen's better than the Reds. And their lineup, don't even talk about the lineup.
The Reds have
you need to be able to hit the ball to win.
The Reds have 3 bullpen guys who I think will be dominant in the playoffs. You have Amir Garrett, who's a power throwing lefty. You got Raciel Iglesias, who's been
those 2 guys are good.
Them.
Those 2 guys are good.
And Archie Bradley's a Red as well.
How good has he been this year?
I think his ERA is under 3.
I mean, that's a thing. I don't know about that, but we'll see. I mean, I just don't think that they compete even with the team with the Cubs. Okay, so I would still take that. I still think they'll beat the Cubs. They won't beat the Cubs or the Dodgers. So then let's go down. Atlanta Braves. There is no way they beat the Atlanta Braves. Are you kidding?
Their pitching is awful.
Who?
Isn't Max Fried injured?
No.
Max Fried is hurt.
No, he's not. I'm pretty sure he pitched last night.
He was injured and then he came back.
Fried pitched last night.
Okay, so that was his first game back.
7-0 with the 1.9.
Is Ian Anderson going to be a good playoff pitcher? Do we know that for sure?
Who knows? But he's got a sub-2 ERA and he's pitching tonight. He's 3-0 on the season.
I'm still going to take Castillo over.
Those top 2 are better than probably any top 2 in baseball.
Better than Bauer Castillo?
Yes.
Absolutely not.
You can't.
Bauer and Darvish are.
Stats don't lie.
When you go to the NL Cy Young, Bauer and Darvish are by far the 2 top candidates. Max Fried maybe 3rd.
I would say 4, actually.
Bauer has 5 pitches.
Okay, fine.
5.
So you give the rotation. You give the Reds the rotation by a little bit, a slim. Let's look at the Braves offense. I don't even want to name players because it's going to embarrass what the Reds have. Okay, I'm going to say what the Reds are batting right now. Castellanos, 234. Moustakas, 208. Nick Senzel, 216. Votto, 216. Akiyama, 239. And Galvis, 208.
Votto's at 230.
Oh, okay.
I have that written down.
Okay, so maybe it's okay, whatever. So 230. 230. Oh no, 230. That's not good. They're not hitting the baseball. They're not going to win games. Doesn't matter if Bauer pitches 7 shutout innings.
If Bauer in a 3-game series, if Trevor Bauer matches up against the Braves and gets a shutout inning and the Reds scratch across 3, this happened when they pitched. This happened when they faced Darvish.
Go up 1-0.
This happened when they faced Darvish. Bauer pitched 7 2/3 shutout. Lucas Sims and Iglesias finished the game. Moustakas hit a 3-run home run in the first inning. That's all they needed. That they won. Okay, Bauer is a dominant playoff pitcher and always has been. In a 3-game series, game 1 is so crucial. And
no, you're definitely right.
Game 1, I think they could take a game 2.
I'm not taking anything away from Trevor Bauer. I know he's been so good this year.
That's not all of it, though. They do have
that is all of it.
I'm confident enough that Castellanos.
So Luis Castillo goes out there and tosses 7 shutout innings against the Braves. Absolutely not.
I think he can put together a quality start.
Bauer won't do that.
I'm confident.
Bauer won't do that against the Cubs. Actually, the Cubs are his best chance.
Bauer did it against the Cubs.
Okay, in the playoffs, that's his best chance. You're right. His best chance to throw 7 shutout against the Cubs. Not against the Dodgers. He's virtually no shot. No pitcher has a shot at throwing 7 shutout innings versus the Cubs.
This is the first time.
And I will assure you that the Braves won't let that happen either. Especially with Max Fried on the mound.
It's going to be such a toss-up. It's going to be such a toss-up because the Braves and the Dodgers haven't seen the Reds all season and vice versa. So we have no idea how those games are going to go.
You're right. That's why the playoffs are interesting. Because you haven't seen 2/3 of the league.
But I am confident enough that you have Castellanos, Moustakas,
even if they get past the first round, they're not winning the division series. And the argument was
Brian Goodwin's going to be a solid end of the lineup hitter too. I'm confident enough that one of those guys can put together a slate of runs.
They're going to need like a Daniel Murphy type of guy to step up and get it.
I think they'll get that.
Who's doing that?
I think Joey Votto is going to take his hot streak into the playoffs. I think Mike Moustakas.
That would be a lot.
Mike Moustakas doesn't hit for average. He hits the big home run.
Okay, well, I guess that will determine it because their lineup is atrocious right now, average-wise.
I think they're an inconsistent lineup, but they do have names that produce.
Consistency is not winning you playoff games.
The Dodgers are never a good playoff team. Let's be real.
It doesn't matter. They've gotten to the World Series plenty of times. They win the division every year.
And it's a very different playoff.
Different Dodgers team. Are you kidding? They have the best.
I'll give my credit where it's due. Dustin May has a demonic 2-seam fastball.
He's insane. He throws it for it's like a 2-seam sinker.
Look up Pitching Ninja on Twitter and look up that Dustin May fastball. it looks like it's going to come outside, but then it whips in. It's ridiculous.
Exactly. And the Reds, if they can't hit regular major league pitching, they're not hitting him.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, let's just make sure the Reds get into the playoffs.
They will. They will.
Okay. Well, I think that's going to wrap up our debate. Thank you.
Comment who won in the YouTube.
Yeah, seriously.
And this is our first episode on Spotify as well.
Yes, absolutely. So check that out as well. We'll post that on the Twitter.
And the Instagram.
Absolutely. That will do it for this week's episode of Under Review. Have a great weekend. This is Ethan Birch and Jeremy Goldstein signing off.